Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pits of Motorcast. This is your host, Dave. In a minute or two, I'll have on the line special guest driver of the Brutus all funny car, Chris Schneider. Hold on, let me call him.
Hello.
Hey, Chris, you're on the air live in Pits of Motorcast. How you doing?
Hey, doing good.
Chris Schneider, driver of the Brutus all funny car. Beautiful funny car, by the way.
Well, thank you. You know, John's done a great job with the car. It's a beautiful car to start with. He's done a great job making it even better.
I know it's got to be an honor to drive that car for you.
It is. You know, I've had the pleasure of driving both of his cars. They've both been two great pieces, but this one here sure is a nice hot rod.
So, how'd you do up at Funny Car Cast last weekend?
Well, we had a pretty decent weekend. We were able to make it to the finals in the B field, and what was just an incredible field of cars. You know, 26 funny cars, some of the baddest hitters around, and to make it to the finals was something special for us. We couldn't pull off the win, but they at least knew we were there.
Yep. So, are you guys going to be running all the cast events this year?
Well, we hadn't planned on doing all of them, but since the first two races, we've made it to the finals both times. We're tied for second in the points, so John has made the decision that we're going to take a stab at the championship. So he's decided we're going to make the long trek down to Texas the following weekend, and then the weekend after that back down in Texas at Odessa. So looks like we're going to get some miles under our belts and see if we can't continue improving on what we've done so far.
Awesome. So now let me go back into your history, Chris, and ask you how did you get into drag racing?
Oh wow, it was a few years ago, and ever since grade school, I've always had an affinity for cars, muscle cars, and always been around them. And I had a lot of good people that helped me along the way. And my brother let me drive his car at my first drag race at MAR in Wentzville. And I was of a very tender age, and we'll leave it at that.
Hey, okay.
And I was lucky enough to win my first race, and from there I was hooked. I mean, I just had to do it. And I drag raced through high school and have continued on, and ran my own car for quite a few years. Won a couple of races along the way, and got the opportunity to drive John's car. One thing has just led to the other.
So you did years of bracket car racing?
Oh yes, many years. Ever since the '80s. So I've made a few trips down the quarter mile.
Now, were you pretty successful in bracket cars?
Well, I did okay, I guess. You can always do better, but I've won several races over the years, and then with the growth of Nostalgia Superstock back in the 90s, I kind of got the itch for that, and ended up selling my blue 67 GTX that I had raced for 20 years and built a 65 Plymouth from scratch with a lot of help from some friends. And the very first race out with it, I literally finished the car on a Wednesday night, loaded it up on Thursday, and went to Monster Mopar in St. Louis, which at that time held the biggest Nostalgia Superstock race to date. There were 73 cars in the class. It was the inaugural Dave Dual Classic, and I was lucky enough to win that race the very first time out with my car. And took a nice $5,000 purse home. That was the largest purse. To this date, I still don't think there's been a larger purse for nostalgia super stock than that. So that's always a special memory. And then the following year, I was able to take the 65 to the National Hot Rod Reunion. They had moved it from Bowling Green to Columbus, Ohio, and I won that race. So I had pretty good success with that new car. So I can't complain.
Now, when you started driving for John Troxel, that's your first time driving a funny car?
Yes. And actually, it was just, he was going to drive the car, but with everything involved trying to get the car going, and he had never driven a race car before, I was just going to drive it for the short term to kind of get the bugs worked out and get the car lined out, and then he was going to take over, and just seems like I never got out of the driver's seat.
So what year did you start driving for John?
Oh, man, let's see. That's probably been, I'm guessing it was about 2008 or 2009 was the first time I drove his car.
So now, how was your first time experience going in a funny car?
Well, the very first time, a lot of people, they don't like to talk about this stuff, but I think it's all part of it. And, John was inexperienced in racing, especially a funny car, and I sure knew nothing about a funny car. I knew how to run a super stock, not a funny car, and we thought we were ready to go, and I was in the car suited up. We fired it up. Everything sounded good, and it was a slug. I couldn't even get it to spin the tires and the water burn out. So the first day out was pretty uneventful, to say the least. But we learned and moved on from there, and it was a continual learning experience. And it took about a year or so, but then we were starting to make some respectable passes and just continued to grow from there. But yeah, I definitely remember our humble beginnings.
So now, what track did you get your funny car license at?
Well, the first time I drove the car was at Gateway, and I already had my my NHRA ET license, because my blue 67 actually ran in the 9, so I already had my ET license. And a little over a year ago, with the new car, we were able to run fast enough that I got my advanced ET license, which I got at Gateway also.
Now, with the Brutus funny car, what's been your quickest ET?
Well, this past weekend up at Eddyville was our fastest 8th mile. We went 4:33 and backed it up with a 4:34. So that's been our fastest 8th mile. Last year in the quarter mile, we did run a 6:95 at Joliet with it. I would think that the 4:33, if I had to guess, if that was a quarter mile pass, that'd probably be 675 to 680 would be my guess.
Now,
so we're coming along with it, and there's still more there. We still got a ways to go, but we look forward to the future with it. That's for sure. It's a pretty good hot rod.
Now, who are all the crew members that keep that hot rod running good?
Well, they're from all over the place. We're very, very lucky to have such good friends and people willing to help. Justin Craig is John Troxel's stepson, and he's just a huge help, and he's always there. And he is the now world-famous Brutus that backs me up. He's become pretty popular, backing me up in his gladiator outfit, so he does a great job with that. But he's very, very mechanically inclined, has been a huge help. He lives here locally in the Jeff City, Holt Summit area. And then we've got another friend, Randy Hedges, that has been helping us pretty well from the beginning. I grew up with Randy, and he lives here local. we've got people kind of from afar too. We've got a friend, Noah Summers. He lives up north of Kansas City, near St. Joseph, Missouri, and he comes to as many as he can. Another friend of mine that I've had for quite a few years that I've met through the Mopar trade and racing and swap meets and stuff, Gary Ball. He's out of Indiana. He comes to quite a few of the races and helps us. And a little over a year ago, our good friend Roland Leong introduced us to a buddy of his, Jerry Nui, out of Hawaii. And we just became friends instantly, and he jumped right in and had a ball helping us. And he actually flies in from Hawaii sometimes to help us, and we're just tickled pink anytime he can come in and help.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yep. But we've had a lot of other people help us, but those are our main crew guys. But, I just can't emphasize how much help and extra labor is needed to run one of these cars. And we've just truly been blessed to have so many people willing to help out. John's neighbor, Jim Hagenoff, he's been an almost lifelong friend of mine, and he's a super stock racer as well, has a really badass Hemi 65 Belvedere that he runs. Since he's right next door, we rely on him a lot to help come over and take the body off, put the body on, stuff like that. He never hesitates to jump in anytime we need something, and we've got a couple of people in Columbia, Missouri, that without them we would never be able to do what we do. Ed Thomas is a man of all trades, an absolute genius. He could paint, do body work, fabricate, can literally do anything, and he has helped us time and time again when we needed something literally fabricated at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. He's made it for us, and he's just bailed us out I don't know how many times. And then, we've got Ty Baumgartner Race Cars, just outside of Columbia. We just got the car back from him the week before Eddyville. He got it done for us, some things that we were changing, and Ty is just incredible chassis builder and fabricator, and he just helps us out time and time again. And like I said, without people like this, you can't run a car like this.
Now, are there any sponsors for the car?
Well, once again, you need lots of help running these cars, not just with able hands and willing helpers. You need a little help with parts and goods and money at times. And good friend of ours is Dennis Mothershed at Victory Performance Driveline Parts. He has basically helped us out from the beginning, and helped us out many times when we've needed parts. And it's just an honor to be associated with somebody like him. And John, through his business, the Troxel's Auto Literature, needless to say, the business sponsors the car quite a bit. And we've just had lots and lots of other people that have helped us over the years. It's greatly appreciated.
Now, the body on the car, what year is the body?
It's a 71 Mustang body. And it's very, very true to the original car. Lots and lots of people think it is the original car, but it is not. But the paint work and everything on the car is just dead on. It's truly something to behold. You need to see it in person to really get the most out of it. But it's a beautiful car, and it is very, very true to its history.
Now, you guys have injected alcohol?
No, it's blown alcohol. It's a Brad Anderson Hemi motor with a 1471 blower, and we've got the Mark Mickey at M&M Transmission in Jeff City here hooked us up with a 2-speed turbo 400 this past winter. We annihilated a power glide at the end of last year, and I basically had it laying in my lap. And, we needed to step up from that, and Mark and the guys, Troy Williams down at M&M, they hooked us up with an incredible 2-speed race turbo 400 and a torque converter set up for our combination, and it's really worked out good. And last year we had all kinds of trouble with tire shake, and with this new combination, knock on wood, I have not had any tire shake yet this year, and as a driver, trust me, that is something nice to see. Tire shake is not welcome in the driver's seat.
Right, you always hear about that so many times with funny cars having tire shake.
Oh yeah, and it was so bad last year. We literally sheared the bolts off of the flywheel and basically destroyed the transmission all in one pass. It was from tire shake, so it's ugly, and you definitely want to stay away from it. And Mark and the guys down there really came up with a good combination for us, and the car's been consistent and smooth, and it's really been a joy to drive.
So now, Chris, after all the years of doing drag racing, now what still keeps you passionate about doing it?
You know, I'm telling you, once you've strapped into any race car, it gets in your blood, and to climb in one of these, you know, a solid chassis car, and that body comes down, you're like looking down a tunnel, and when you hit that pedal, I mean, there's just no describing it. You know, you just have to experience to truly understand it, but it's a feeling that there's nothing else like it. And the car, I've always been very competitive. I'm one of them guys, when we go out to race, we're going to win. I mean, we are not there just to be there. I want to win. And that's what helps drive me and drive the team. And this year we've been very competitive, and we're just having a pretty good time doing it.
Now, when you started out drag racing, did you have any big inspirations? Any people out there, other drivers?
Well, you know, you always look back at a lot of the heroes. You know, your Sox and Martin. You know, they were huge heroes of mine. You know, with the super stock cars, I really looked up to them, and of course a lot of the funny car drivers. You know, I was a big John Force fan. You know, the Blue Max, Candies and Hughes, you know, and then I always, you know, kept up with Roland and his Hawaiian cars. Was always a big fan of them, and then later on in life to be able to, you know, become acquainted with him and a friendship and have him actually help us along the way, that's just been something incredible. I mean, to have a true hero of yours help you out. And we've got Larry Reyes, who is one of Roland's original drivers. He's become good friends, and he has really mentored me and really helped out. And early on, I had a local gentleman, Wayne Foster. He ran a super stock Hemi Dart that was, you know, pretty go-getter around here locally. And, you know, he kind of took me under his wing and helped me out a lot. And you know, people like that, you know, that's how I got to be where I am.
Now, Chris, if you could have the fans of the Brutus Funny Car remember one thing about you as the driver, what would you want them to remember about you?
That we're out there having fun and trying to put on a show for them. That's what we are there for. We want to put on a show, and the Brutus is there to win. We're not playing. We're there to win.
Yep, there's always that need for speed.
That's right, and you always want to go faster. It's never enough. Trust me, we have plans on going faster down in Texas.
Now, when you started out drag racing, was your family supportive of you?
Well, my brothers, you know, they race too, and so, you know, we all kind of race together. My father kind of tried to nix it. He had worked at a dealership most of his life and had been around a lot of people that race, and you know, it was, you know, waste of time and money and effort and get in trouble and, you know, the usual thing. And And as usual, the more he tried to get us away from it, the more we went to it, which is usually the case with kids. But I think later on, when he's seen how serious that we were and I was with it, that he kind of changed his tune a little bit, and then he became supportive, and I think he was very proud of what we accomplished.
Now, when you're out there on the starting line, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions at all?
I don't know that I call them superstitions, but I think almost any driver tries to do the same thing every time. I always try to enter the car the same way. I try to go through the same routine. You try to get it to where you're not actually thinking about anything. You just want it to be automatic, and you just kind of go with the flow, and and you look forward to it. I mean, you're excited, but you try to keep the excitement from overcoming you too much, and you just deal with the job you have at hand, and you have to take it very seriously, because there's a lot going on there. You've got a lot of horsepower at your feet, and literally you can be wearing it in your lap if you're not careful, and you have to worry about the other car, and you just have to take it very seriously, but it sure is a lot of fun.
Now, what kind of preparation goes into getting the Brutus funny car ready for a weekend?
Well, you have to do a lot of prep work, maintenance and stuff. This week, we were very lucky that we really had next to no issues with the car. So to get ready for Texas, we'll just need to change oil in it and check over the fuel system. And you always got to go over all the bolts, nuts and bolts in the car, and just do general maintenance. So it won't be too bad for Texas, but at other points, sometimes you have to do, pull the engine apart, do stuff like that, do engine maintenance, and you do whatever you need to do. But for the next two races, as long as we don't tear up nothing, we shouldn't have to do a whole lot of maintenance work.
Now, do you have any personal favorite tracks to run on?
Well, MAR at Wentzville was always what I considered my home track, and I probably made more passes down that track than any of them, and it was a real shame to see it go away. And the same thing with KCIR in Kansas City. Made many passes down that track, and was always a special track for us, and it's gone now too. So you hate to see those great facilities go away, but they tend to. But Eddyville, where we ran this past weekend, Gerald Kramer and his son Kyle and the whole crew, they do such a good job there. Beautiful facility, well run, and you're just treated like family there. You always like going to a place like that, but it's always neat to go to a new facility. It's always neat to go to a new track and see new people and a new surface and a new area surroundings. So that's always neat to do. And we'll be going down to San Antonio. We've never been there, so kind of anxious to see how that works out.
Now, you prefer quarter mile or eighth mile?
I was always a quarter mile guy, but I'll tell you what, Chris Graves and this funny car deal, it's kind of getting me hooked on the eighth mile. The eighth mile is kind of neat because the racing is so tight. I mean, it's just crazy how tight the racing is, and it becomes, in my mind, it's more of a responsibility on the driver, because the starting line is so important in an 8 mile race, because you have less room to make up the difference. And I always try to leave on my guys. I shoot for a 00 light every time if I can. And I pride myself on my ability to leave on people. So I like the 8th mile, and it's a whole lot easier on parts. I mean, you tend to break a lot less, and So I love both. I mean, I'll run either one. I don't care. But I am learning to like 8 Mile more and more.
Now, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from?
We get most of our stuff from DJs out in California. You know, Big Ben.
Yep.
He's hooked us up with a lot of stuff, and they've always been good to us. So the vast majority of our stuff comes from DJs.
Now, for the next Funny Car Cast, are there any drivers you're wanting to line up against again?
I'll line up against anybody. I don't care. But I will say at the first race this year at Texas, I truly had the honor of lining up against Ronnie Young in the E-Max first round, and we were lucky enough, and I emphasize lucky, to have won that one. But it's just an honor to be able to line up with somebody like that. But there's a ton of drivers in this chaos that are top drivers. You know, the cars are incredible. The crew chiefs and crews are good. I mean, you don't want to take anybody for granted in this class, because they are going to bite you. And I have some friends that we run with the Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car Circuit, and it's always fun to line up with Rocky Osick and the Solid Rock Mustang. I always enjoy racing him. Mark Horvath. He has multiple cars that he runs in. You know, the Damn Yankee and the Mopar Missile. They're always great to line up. Great guys, great drivers, and you know you're going to have a stiff race on your hands. So yeah, there's many good drivers out there, but I really don't care who it is. When I pull up there, I'm going to try to rip their throat out when I pull up there.
Yeah, Dennis Salzwimmer has a great group of guys in that Great Lakes group.
Oh yeah, we've run with them for years, and it's a blast running with them. Just great crew. Dennis does a good job of keeping everything lined out and control. Of course, this year has just been a really difficult year for everybody involved, and we had a fantastic schedule lined out, and of course, a lot of that has vaporized on us, and we're just ready for things to get back to normal, and we can get back out there and run at all these tracks, put on a show for the people, and you know, there's lots and lots of fans out there of these cars, and it's just an honor to be able to run in front of them.
Yeah, didn't Steve with the Detroit Tiger, didn't he used to run with that group before?
He ran with them some, yes. Yeah, he has run with them.
Yeah, he's got that.
And, you know, Steve, he's a really class act, and boy, you talk about having a hot rod. He has got a hot rod now. They have got that thing flying. We hope to be able to run with him one day, but we're going to have to tune ours up a bit, because they have that thing flying.
Oh yeah,
they did a whale of a job winning down up at Eddyville. But Steve's a good guy, fantastic car, and they definitely know what they're doing there.
Yeah, congrats again, Steve, on that win.
Yeah, great job by all involved there.
And of course, congrats to John Umloff too on his win.
Yep. He's actually from Rolla, just a little south of us here. Another Show Me State guy, and they got that car going pretty good too. We knew we were a little outgunned, and so we went for it, and just couldn't quite keep it in the groove. But no, they had their car running good, and they were the better car this past weekend. But we'll be ready for them next time.
Yeah, I agree with you though on Steve's car. The Detroit Tiger is set on kill.
Yeah, they've got that car flying. I mean, you know, for an alcohol car, that is one bad scooter there.
Oh yeah. So same thing with Ken Singleton. That car is always set on kill.
Oh yeah, they're so consistent. I mean, I was honestly amazed when he hit the cone across the center line there. I mean, that's just something you really don't see out of him. That car is deadly fast, incredibly consistent. He's a heck of a driver, and there's a reason that he's the champion. and right now he's first in the points, and that's who we're gunning for. But we are certainly going to have our hands full trying to take that title away from them. They are a top-notch crew with a badass car, but trust me, we're going to give it our best. They're going to know we're out there.
Oh yeah, and if you got so many new drivers coming in now that they're going to be making a gun for the win too.
Oh yeah, every race there's more new cars, new drivers coming in. I mean, that's what's really neat about Chris Graves' deal with this chaos. It's just literally bringing cars out of the woodwork, and that's good for the sport. It's good for the hobby. It's good for everything. It's really bringing interest back into it, and that's what we need. And it's neat to see the interest the younger people are having. That's what we got to have. We got to get some younger blood, some younger interest in our hobby if we want to keep it going. And I think he's really come on to something here with chaos events, and we're sure having a blast running them. And I think people are really enjoying watching, and I think it was quite a show from Eddyville. Those that got to watch it on the live pay-per-view, Chad with Bang Schiff and Les Milieu, they did a great job of covering it. And that's a pretty neat deal to know people around the world, were able to watch you race. That's kind of a neat feeling. We're all John Force wannabes, so that was something special, and I think we put on a good show for them.
Yep, I would agree on that one. Now, for you, Chris, what have been some of the personal milestones that you have hit in your drag racing career?
Well, there's probably 3 or 4, I guess, that really stand out. The first one would be the first 9-second pass that I made in my old blue car. That went from my everyday driver to becoming my race car. It was a big old heavy brick of a car, and the first time I made a 9-second pass in it, that was just really, really a special feeling. And so I'll always remember that. Winning the inaugural Dave Dual Classic in my brand new car that had never been raced before, that's going to be pretty hard to top. Like I said, winning the Hot Rod Reunion, that's a pretty special event there. And then, running the 695 at a facility like Joliet, my first 6-second pass last year, that's something that stands out quite a bit too. So those are probably the ones that I'll really remember forever.
Now, throughout your racing career, have you had any accidents or close calls?
Well, I've had several close calls. Knock on wood, I've never actually crashed a car. I've had many a close call, but I've been lucky enough that it's always kind of come my way. But that chance is always out there. That's something you have to accept every time you strap in the car, that could be the time. But it's a risk I'm willing to take, and I take it serious. But I'm also not afraid of it, and you just do the best job you can driving, and you try to keep your head up and keep your wits about you and be smart about it. Discretion's a better part of valor sometimes behind that wheel, and that's something that some guys forget sometimes, but I never will. I always tell John, I'm going to do everything in my power to bring this car back to you in the same condition that it was. And I've made quite a few passes in his 2 cars, and to date, I've never left my lane. I've never hit a cone, never touched the wall, never run off the track. So I'd like to keep that going.
Yeah, knock on wood, you won't never have any accidents.
Well, we hope.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate that time when Ronald Ooms had that incident.
Yep, that was ugly. I was actually up there when that happened, and it just shows you how quick things can happen. And like I said, it's just something you have to accept. When you strap in that car, it can happen. And if you're afraid of it, you shouldn't be in there.
Yep. That's the risk all you guys take every time you're out there.
No guts, no glory, right?
Yep.
Either that or we're just silly, one or the other.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna hit some fun questions here with you, Chris. Outside of drag racing, you have any other hobbies?
Well, I'm the flying butcher, is what they call me. Partly because I was a butcher for over 20 years, but also I've been known to barbecue quite a bit. I've got a 500-gallon barrel on a trailer that I cook on. I love barbecuing huge amounts of meat, and been told that sometimes it's even fit to eat. So I really enjoy cooking for large groups, and seeing the enjoyment on people's faces when they're eating my barbecue. So that next to racing, that's probably my other big addiction.
You said the flying butcher?
Yeah, that's actually a nickname that I got quite a few years ago. It was at Cordova. We were racing there, and the legend himself, Berserko Bob, gave me that name. So it kind of stuck. So there it is, Flying Butcher.
All right, now throughout your drag racing career, have you won a lot of trophies and plaque stuff like that?
I've got so many stacked around. My wife made me take a bunch of them up to my shop. She said, get them out of the house. Back in the 80s and early 90s when I was doing a bunch of bracket racing, there was very little money involved. If you won a race, it was usually $100, and lots of races was for just a trophy. We were just doing it because we loved doing it. And, there's just piles of them that I won over the years. I always told people you can't eat trophies, and as it got along and things progressed and you started getting more and more money, you quickly learned that a paycheck was a whole lot better than a trophy. But it is kind of nice to have something to reflect back on and say, hey, maybe I did actually accomplish something.
Now, if you were able to do time traveling and go back in the time, would you do anything differently with the drag racing career?
Boy, I don't know what it'd be. I think I've been incredibly lucky to have done what I've done, and I've had many opportunities go my way, and I just think I'm blessed to be able to do what I'm doing now. I sure don't know what I would ever do different.
All right, so since you love cooking food so much, what's your favorite food to eat?
Oh, it's pretty hard to beat a good old ribeye steak on the grill. That's probably about as good as it gets right there.
What is your favorite beverage?
Other than a nice cold Budweiser, a nice cold tea, I guess.
What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, jeez. That's a tough one. Well, I guess I gotta say Funny Car Summer, right? Isn't that the right answer?
Yep. I see a lot of guys say American Graffiti.
I mean, questions like that, there's so many movies so good. I mean, that's just a question that's next to impossible to answer. So I'll do the politically correct thing and say Funny Car Summer.
All right, what's your favorite music to listen to?
Oh, classic rock. I like lots of forms of music, but I'm kind of a classic rock guy.
Now, does classic rock get you pumped up for drag racing?
It sure doesn't hurt. We've been known to crank up some music in our pit area while we're getting the car ready, and kind of get you in groove. And back in the day, there's many a night it'd be 11, 12 o'clock at night, and you're working on the car trying to get it ready so you can go to the race the next day. And I'd be by myself lots of times, and my old shop would have the stereo cranked up, just keeping me going.
Now, do you have a favorite classic rock artist?
same deal like the movies. There's just so many. I could throw a name out, but I'd be lying because I like so many. There isn't one that is truly my favorite. I mean, any of the greats, you just can't go wrong. I mean, the late 60s, 70s, and early 80s, I mean, the amount of talent that was out there is just unbelievable.
All right, now this next question, I usually get a lot of answers. Roadrunner. What's your favorite? What was your favorite cartoon when you're growing up as a kid?
Well, I mean, I was always a big Bugs Bunny fan. I mean, I'll be honest. I just thought it was he could outsmart anybody. I mean, it didn't matter who they were, he could outsmart them. And I always thought that was pretty cool, and I always wished I was that smart. Obviously, I'm not, but it never hurts to try.
Yeah. All right, now on the track on a race day, do you eat regularly, or do you eat very light and wait till the races are done, then eat more food?
Well, I've been accused of having a large frame, I guess you'd say, for a driver. If it was up to Roland, they'd put me on about a 20 calorie a day diet. He'd like me to lose about 150 pounds, but that's not going to happen. So I tend to like my food, but on race day, I usually eat very, very little. I just tend to try not to have too much on my stomach. There's so much excitement going on and a lot happening, so I usually wait until after it's all done, and then I'll fill up a plate with something.
Now, if you didn't become a drag racer, do you have any idea what you would maybe become in life?
I probably would have become a derelict because drag racing has been such an important part of my life. I don't know where I would be today without it. And that's an honest statement. I mean, it has been such a huge part of my life. As I was growing up through now, I just don't know who I would be without drag racing.
All right, what's your biggest pet peeve?
Somebody trying to play games on the starting line.
And what would you consider to be the fondest memory of your drag racing career?
If I had to pick one, I'd say winning the inaugural Dave Dual Classic with my new car. That's going to be one that's pretty hard to beat. But I'm hoping that one day in John's car we're going to do something so special that it'll top it.
Most embarrassing moment on the starting line?
Oh, geez. Let's see. Most embarrassing moment. Well, I wasn't actually on the starting line, but it was close. We were out at Bakersfield in California. We hauled John's car all the way out there. And this qualifying run was being shown live on TV. We had Roland up there helping us, and we actually had a bye run. We were by ourselves, and it seemed like the whole world was watching us. We started the car. They lowered the body. Everybody went to do their business. I looked down, and we've got zero oil pressure. So I had to shut it off. And as the motor shut off, Roland looked back at me, and I just had to hold up the big zero symbol with my hand. And the look on his face, I think, pretty well covered how we all felt. And that was a pretty down moment for us, to say the least. But that's racing, I guess.
Yeah. So now, if people want to find out where the Brutus car is going to be running at, what's the best way for people to find like a schedule?
Well, they can keep up with us on Facebook. My Facebook timeline and John's. We try to keep up to date information on there, and they can have a pretty good idea where we're going to be going if they just check us out on Facebook. It's John Troxel or Chris Schneider.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking time to do this interview tonight, Chris.
Hey, no problem. It's my pleasure. We appreciate all the support that everybody out there gives us, and we hope to see you at a track soon.
Any final words?
Good luck to everybody, and how about we get this country back on track and everybody just get things back to normal? That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Amen to that. Well, thanks again, Chris, and we'll do another one in the future.
All right, sounds good, buddy.
Stay on the line.